Quick question. What do a troll, a bunch of grey dwarfs, and a giant tree man have in common? They all want to murder me. Let's gather around the campfire. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Valheim, The Legend of Grey. In the last episode, I collected some copper and tin, and then went dungeoneering so I could enter the Bronze Age. Between episodes, I smelted those ores up, and now it's time to do something with them. So let me just turn these into bronze bars real quick. Now, I have a few options that I could potentially make with these first bars, but I think this is a very easy choice here. I'm going to make bronze nails so that I can make a cart. While I'm at it, I'm going to make a bronze chest piece for a bit of extra protection. This cart is going to make transporting ores so much easier. Early the next morning, I set off in search of some copper ore. I had found a few patches of black forest, so I was hopeful that I wouldn't have to travel far. And luckily I came across quite a beauty of an ore fairly quickly. With most of it already exposed, I was ready to try the method that I talked about in the last episode. So I quickly built a small hut and got to work. The idea here is that you mine around the entire ore, and then the ore should essentially collapse on itself and give you all of the resources. I know for a fact that this works with silver, but I've never personally tried it with copper. But I set off to work nonetheless. Now what I quickly noticed was that the ore vein was too low in the world to do this the easy way. It was already at water level, which made it hard enough, but since the land elevation was fairly steep, it meant that I couldn't get under the ore itself in most spots. There would be no big explosion of mats. But I got enough to cause a small shower of rocks in the game. With the ore taken care of, I loaded up the cart and set out on my way to slowly, very slowly, bring it all back home. This whole mining expedition took me like 2.5 in-game days, but it was so worth it in the end. Next up was tin. Back on the small island where I died last episode, there were endless amounts of it, so I built another small hut and got to work farming. Compared to copper, tin is easy. Find it, mine it, bring it back to the hut, rinse and repeat. It did not take long until I had amassed over 100 tin ore. Before I left to take it back home though, I thought I would look for a bit more copper. 1 bronze bar requires 1 tin and 2 copper bars, so I didn't have enough copper yet. While traipsing through the forest, I came across the spawner I saw last episode that eventually resulted in my death. This time I was determined to destroy that thing. I needed the ancient seed it drops to summon the second boss anyways, so it was 2 birds, 1 stone. However, getting near it proved to be almost fatal, as it spawned 2 shamans and a 2-star grey dwarf. So I did what any brave man would do, and took the challenge head on, by hiding on top of a stone tower and pelting it with arrows. Of course, that didn't stop me from being in danger. Well, time for more arrows of death from above. Soon after, I ran into a troll, and I just have to say this looks like the climax to some Lord of the Rings movie. After a long day of fighting, Legolas faces the final giant boss with the setting sun in the background, dyeing the sky orange. Really nice vibes. This game is just so beautiful. Eventually, I finally came across another copper vein, but unfortunately had the same problem as last time. It was generated too low into the ground, but I made it work, and in the end I got some nice fireworks. With that taken care of, I loaded up my cart and made the long journey home. Oh, and remember that final boss I fought earlier? Yeah, that must have been the semi-final boss because I ran into his brother along the way. Finally, I made it back, and it was time to begin the long process of smelting all these ores into bars. After my expeditions, I had managed to gather 121 tin and 272 copper ore. I was about to start the grind to 99 smith, sorry, wrong game. Now while these bars were smelting, let's take a look at a checklist of goals for today's episode. Number 1, collect a buttload of copper and tin. Check. Number 2, renovate the house. Number 3, make at least one friend. And number 4, defeat the big bad scary tree guy. I had already taken care of number 1, but now I was ready to accomplish some of the other goals on my to-do list, starting with some renovations. I began building a nice little area off to the side of my house, which would come in useful for the next thing on my list. This is where I would house my friends. I gave them a little shelter. It's not necessary, but that's what future friends do. Afterwards, I began on some actual house renovations. This hut had served me well so far, but I was quickly running out of space. I was in serious need of an addition. So first I moved the fireplace. As you may have seen throughout the episode so far, this thing had gone through a lot of changes, and I was never quite happy with it. Ah, much better. Now it was time to add on to the house. In my head, I was imagining some sort of tower, and after a few iterations, the final shape began to take form. This time I incorporated the core wood into the design to change it up a little bit. Truth be told, I hate working with core wood beams, because the hitboxes are a bit wonky when placing floors and such, but the aesthetic is very nice. Finally, I ended up with this basic shape, which I was pretty happy with. It added some much needed size and depth to the build. Now it wouldn't be so flat.
At this point, I kind of really got engrossed in the build, and well, here's what I ended up with. I'm really happy with it. The staircase is a bit janky, but otherwise, really satisfied. So let's take a tour. I cleaned up the front area here, and you'll notice right away that the smelters and the kiln are gone. We'll see those in a bit. Going inside, the main room is now a bit empty, but my storage has been doubled, which is really nice to have. In the bottom of the tower, I have my crafting stations. This gave me a lot more room to place the upgrade items for them as well. Up top, a fantastic 360-degree view, which could also be used to hunt deer in the area, I suppose. Watch me nail this, first try. First try. There we go. Like I said, first try. Out back, I've expanded the porch and added in my smelting area. On the right side, we have our smelters. On the left, the kiln. And here, a very nice little sitting spot. Ah, very serene, looking out at the ocean. With the house upgraded, it was time to make friends. Now, I don't know how other players tame boars in this game, but my strategy is usually just to make them chase after me, to attack, and then lead them into a pen, where they become my friends. Luckily, it worked out quite well, and the taming process began. Because wild boars are scared of fire, I had to essentially take every torch down, put out my fire, stop the smelting process, all of this just to tame these guys. But in the process, I found a new favorite spot to chill. Eventually they ate the food, and now it was just a waiting game. So I waited. In the meantime, I got bored and made a little pier, which would come in handy later on. After what felt like ages, I finally made my very first friend. Now here's where I need some help. You see, my Boar's friends' names are just Boar and Boar, and that's not very fitting for friends. So leave your name suggestions down in the comments below, and the names with the most likes will be what I call these two lovebirds. Why, hello there! As you can see, I've been very busy with smelting. It's time to finally put these bars to good use. And did you just hear that squeal? Do you know what that means? It means I've made a third friend. Ah, there he is, little piggy. Now it was time to get back to work, so I made a pair of bronze leggings, a butcher knife for cutting vegetables, not friends, and a bronze axe. And after this, it was time to pick a weapon type. I haven't really talked about this, but Valheim has a pretty decent skill system for most things in the game. Specializing in one type of weapon can lead to some decent bonuses as you level it up. So I went with the spear here. I really like the spear's fast attack speed and low stamina cost. Time to test it out. Now check out that power move. I love that. With my bronze axe in hand, I was finally able to cut down birch trees, which provide fine wood and can be used for decorations. After making some forge additions, I was able to upgrade most of my gear to level 3 and make a bronze buckler. Things were looking good. And speaking of looking good, remember that extra Eikthyr head I had lying around? Well, say hello to my new frenemy. After sleeping through the night, I set up to find another crypt to raid. I needed a few more Surtling cores to make something extremely important, and luckily I found one right beside the crypt from last episode. Alright, yeah, great. So, we got a Rancid Remains, which is wonderful. Love that. There's an archer shooting at me, even though he can't see me, which is great. 2-star, 1-star, I mean, if I make one small mistake here, I'm dead. I am absolutely just dead. Oh my gosh. Once home, I was able to use the cores to build a portal, one of the greatest assets in Valheim.
So you were my death. You look so small and soft. Tell Odin he may have broken this form, but the wilderness will never submit to his rules.
Do you smell that? It's the scent of adventure. It was now time to make my way to the second boss in the game, the Elder. Now running there is not an option, so it was time to make a boat and put my pier to good use. There we are. Now honestly, while it takes a long time to sail places in the game, it is one of the most enjoyable aspects of Valheim, I believe. It just feels very nice and fun. The music tracks for sailing are wonderful. You get a really fun sense of adventure, and the way the boat sails up and down on the waves is just really good quality game design. It was going to be a long trip to the Elder, but at least I had some great weather to sail in. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Well, in times like these, there was only one thing that could keep me going. A sea shanty. Hit it. Oops, wrong game again. Let's try that again. Hit it. In Valheim we brave the storms, Vikings bold our spirits warm. Axes and swords are trusty tools, sailing the seas when adventure rules. O Valheim, land of myth and might, beneath the ancient seal we'll fight the fight. With Odin's grace we'll stand so true, bosses of the land we'll vanquish you. Black forest dark and deep, ancient foes and secret caves, silver treasures, dungeons grim, together we'll conquer on a Viking's whim. O Valheim, land of myth and might, beneath the aegis sail we'll fight the fight. With Odin's grace we'll stand so true, bosses of the land we'll vanquish you. One sea shanty later and I was nearing the Elder, and I could see my boat was on its last legs, having sustained a lot of damage from the crashing waves. The only thing that could make this worse would be a sea serpent. Oh look, a sea serpent.
Luckily, he was not very interested in me, and so I was finally able to dock my boat and approach the Elder Summoning area. However, I wasn't alone. There was a troll there. If I was going to fight the Elder, I was going to have to kill this troll. The worst thing that could happen would be that the troll was trying to attack me during the boss fight. Now at this point I was feeling myself. I had new shiny upgraded armor, I hadn't died all episode. This guy was going to be a piece of cake. Or not. I was in a very sticky situation now. I hadn't placed the portal down yet, so I couldn't teleport, and I didn't have any of my gear. So I did the only thing I could. I built a raft and set sail. Man, rafts are slow.
Taming beasts from wolf to boar, building strongholds on distant shores, crafting and mining a Viking's art, bound by honor, strength of heart. O Valheim, land of myth and might, beneath the Yggdrasil will fight the fight. With Odin's grace we'll stand so true, bosses of the land will vanquish you.
This was taking forever, but I was slowly making progress. Until I wasn't.
Oceans arise and adventure calls, sailing beyond where the waterfall falls, exploring new lands with courage ablaze. Vikings of Valheim, together we raise, to the mountains high make our way, facing dangers come what may, gathering riches and forging our fates. In Valheim's realms we celebrate. O Valheim, land of myth and might, beneath the Yggdrasil will fight the fight. With Odin's grace we'll stand so true, bosses of the land will vanquish you.
Finally, after docking and retrieving my stuff, I built a portal in a nearby tower and went home to regroup. With that, it was time to fight the Elder. From a design standpoint, this guy is awesome. Big, overgrown, angry tree man. I mean, yeah, he kind of reminds me of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, but I love him. His attacks are very cool and unique, and they make a lot of sense for the biome that he's found in. Great stuff. Now, full transparency, this clip is a reenactment of the first part of the actual fight. Unfortunately, the original clip corrupted, and I wanted to make sure you could see a bit of what exactly happened. But to sum it up, I died because I was trying to fight him without using cover. A dumb mistake from someone who has beaten the Elder like 30-40 times. One walk of shame later, and I recovered my stuff before eventually falling victim to the Elder's wrath twice again. Alright, reenactment over. The rest of this is original footage. Enjoy the chaos. Alright, I got my stuff back, that's great. Okay, a troll, that is not great. Okay, I gotta get my armor back on, like, ASAP. Anything that hits me in this forest is going to murder me right now. So let's get the armor back on. And, come on. Alright, I got my stuff back. All I have to do now is find somewhere safe. Watch out, oh god. And just put all my gear. There's a crypt. This is perfect. I'm gonna just run in this crypt, and I should be safe. I can just put my gear on in peace. Oh my gosh, I made it. Okay, yeah. Put the gear on first. Okay, I gotta think. I need to take out the troll first. The troll is the biggest threat right now because I won't be able to take out the boss if I'm fighting a troll at the same time. The troll has to die. And so I set ahead taking out the troll and some of the grey dwarves while staying out of the boss's range. And finally, I could turn my attention to the boss. Now, using my 2 brain cells at 100% capacity, I made sure to stay behind cover, like the actual experienced player with 500 hours in Valheim that I am. This method here was very simple. Rotate around the arena as necessary while hiding behind the pillars to avoid the ranged attacks.
20 or so minutes and one trip home for repairs, and I was finally able to take the big guy down, earning myself his head and a swamp key, which unlocks the next tier of items in the game. With my main goal for this episode finally accomplished, it was time to make my way to spawn and hang the Elder head up. The power isn't very useful, but the power from the next guy, yeah, that one's super useful. One of the most difficult boss fights in the game, Bone Mass, was next on the chopping block. Alright everyone, that's it for today's episode. I made a ton of good progress in this one, and next week it's time to head into the swamp, my least favorite biome. Don't forget to leave name suggestions for my pet boars in the comments below, and to like other suggestions you think are good. While you're down there, make sure to like the video, and to subscribe if you're not already. Catch you in the next episode. Bye.